Nugent has told the commission into SARS that his recommendation for the axing of SARS boss Tom Moyane won't be changing in his final report. Nugent was addressing the confusion related to his interim report, which President Cyril Ramaphosa released earlier this week.
We think it is urgent because it is only halfway through the tax year. And if you're going to lose more tax while you're sitting around waiting, simply because to wait for the end date by which we have to report finally, well, there are going to be consequences. And that's why we said you should act now, and that's the decisive action you should take. Whether the President does so is his prerogative. Now, perhaps you can debate, if you like, those conclusions, whether they ought to have been reached and so forth. Well, debate that if you will. But that was our view, and that is the view we stick with, and we won't go back to that in the final report because it's been reported on finally. As far as we are concerned, the present commissioner should be removed as early as possible and a new commissioner put in.
All right, let's take you there to the commission now as it's close to wrapping up for the day. ENCA's Heidi Jokos is tracking that story for us and has the latest. So, Heidi, the judge there, Judge Robert Nugent, standing his ground and basically, you know, even responding to the line of criticism that has said he's basically gone against the rules of natural justice and that he has issued an interim report that recommends that Tom Moyane be removed without hearing Tom Moyane.
So that is exactly it, Tulas. He was trying to make it very clear to the public as well as to the media that in his interim report he will stick by the fact that he believes Tom Moyane needs to be removed as the commissioner. So he was basically making it clear that when the final report is released in November, there will be other recommendations. He will change things here and there and add things here and there. But the fact of the matter is that he believes, as well as the Commission, from the evidence gathered, that Tom Moyane needs to be removed. And this comes at the back of the fact that there has been criticism around Judge Robert Nugent basically coming up with this recommendation without hearing Tom Moyane's side. However, we must put it on record that Tom Moyane has been given ample opportunity to testify at this Commission. Also, we must understand that this Commission of Inquiry is into tax administration and governance at SARS. It is looking at governance issues at the Revenue Service. It is trying to understand why so many highly skilled people left the Revenue Service and what went wrong. Whereas Tom Moyane is facing a separate disciplinary hearing into his conduct as a commissioner. So it is two separate, issues. The Commission is looking at SARS as a whole, whereas Tom Moyane's disciplinary hearing is commissioned by somebody else and has nothing to do with this Commission of Inquiry. And that is why, he believes that he can make that recommendation, and he's given Tom Moyane ample opportunity to testify and have his say.
Yeah, in fact, that point you make there, Heidi, is important because Tom Moyane's legal representatives argue that he has suffered, quote-unquote, double jeopardy, in that while he's facing, Judge Nugent on the one side, and that governance commission is also facing the disciplinary process, and the Judge Nugent had some response to that.
Yes, so the judge basically saying that Tom Moyane's disciplinary hearing has nothing to do with him. He has no hand to play in what happens with, Tom Moyane's disciplinary hearing that's being commissioned by Advocate Azar Bam. So, the judge really coming out hard on this issue because he's saying that we were given a terms of reference by the President, and that is to find out what went wrong at SARS. So, for him to be getting criticism and this commission to be getting criticism and backlash on the basis that Tom Moyane is having two inquiries at the same time actually has nothing to do with Judge Nugent, because his is about the Commission of Inquiry into Tax Administration at SARS, commissioned by the President, not into Tom Moyane, not specifically into Tom Moyane's conduct as a commissioner. So the judge just saying that it has nothing to do with me. I want to make it clear that I believe that Tom Moyane needs to be removed as commissioner because they have sufficient evidence for this, and nothing that will not change in the report that will be the final report that will be released in November. And it comes at the end of the report being released by the president saying he's applying his mind to this, because the judge has told us numerous times that it is a matter of urgency that Moyane be removed.
Also coming out of the commission today, Heidi, the whole issue around an entity called Gardner. And we heard some details today about who Gardner is. Are we in the clear as to why they were paid 200 million rand, and did SARS get value for money from the testimony of the former COO of SARS today?
So, if I can just paint a picture for you, Tulas, it is very clear that Tom Moyane brought in these two consultancy firms, Bain & Company, as well as Gartner, to try and change the model and structure of SARS, specifically the IT model. It is very unclear as to why they wanted to change something that was not broken. And you hear this day in and day out from the witnesses that are testifying at this commission that their structures and their models were working perfectly, and yet Gartner was proposing all these new strategies and reviews without any understanding of what really goes down in those departments. And we saw Barry Hall, who was the chief operating officer here at SARS, who left in 2014, who is basically the driver of the modernization model. SARS used to be very paper-based, but obviously with technology advancing so rapidly, he came up with this model that was very automated, and which really basically put SARS on the map as one of the very good, world-class system that had a grip on its modernization and IT system. And fast forward to 4 years later, and SARS is struggling to deal with its e-filing. They are about 2 years behind. Their IT infrastructure is degenerating, and we're hearing this day in and day out. And yesterday we had a witness who is now the head of IT, who was very unclear, very vague in her testimony, unable to answer certain questions, unable to answer why she has not spent the budget given to her to advance the infrastructure. And then today we have Barry Hall, who was previously in her position, and basically saying that I don't understand what is going on here. Everything was working perfectly fine until Tom Moyane in December of 2014 sent out a news flash to halt the modernization model.
And just as a last point then, Heidi, as you mentioned, the decision that was taken to change that model and sort of follow the Gardner model. According to Barry Hall, all of this was done in a very opaque kind of way.
Exactly. So, it's a situation where they came in, they changed the whole system without any sort of explanation. And to us, we're talking about millions of rands that were paid to these consultancy firms. You have a situation where Exco work together as a team, and then this news flash is sent out, and they basically told this is how it's going to work. And when questions were asked, they were just told, please stop asking questions and just do as I say. And this is obviously putting a lot of strain on SARS. We must understand that this Commission of Inquiry is extremely important, because we're trying to understand what went wrong at the Revenue Service. We have a revenue shortfall of 50 billion rand, and it's only said to get worse because of the serious issues, governance issues that this institution faces. This place was once the jewel of South Africa, of a public institution, and now you're dealing with a number of issues and serious lack of leadership. You have these consultancy firms that come in that have no idea how this revenue service works, and it really puts it out there that if something was so wrong with SARS, why wasn't anything going wrong? I mean, you had a revenue service that was going above and beyond its revenue collection, and now suddenly they're struggling to stay afloat. So it really begs the question as to why on earth these consultancy firms were put in this revenue service, given the fact that they yielded no positive results and no new structures that helped take the revenue service further, and being paid millions.
All right, thank you so much for that. That is ENCA's Heidi Jokos tracking that SARS Commission of Inquiry chaired by Judge Robert Nugent.